What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Old Cranky Man channel. My name is Rugley, bringing to you more Canadian Highlander today. Actually, this is the very last recorded game from our Maple Cup. This was recorded during the final round of the Maple Cup Finals last weekend. You can see behind me at the bottom of your screen there, that is the winning match taking place between Luke Sheely and Jake Scott. We will have the result for that, actually interviewing the winner tomorrow up on the YouTube channel. So I guess you'll have to check out our video tomorrow to find out who won. But this is Jeremiah at the top of your screen playing Jund Cauldron versus me at the bottom of your screen playing Mardu Initiative. We've already got things rolling here. Jeremiah started with a beautiful Ravnica remastered Deathrite Shaman. I've got a fatal push for it, but it is countered by a Legolas's quick reflexes. On turn 2, I've got a Zoyoa Lava Tongue. If you haven't seen this card, it is a 2-mana 2/2 with Death Touch. And if you descended at the beginning of your end step, each opponent discards a card or takes 3 damage. So card has been performing really, really well for me. It's like almost always just a lightning bolt plus a terminate, but occasionally it does a whole lot more than that. Sometimes it feels like a terminate that's also a blightning. I don't know. The card has been very, very good. Listen, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn notifications on so that we get to annoy you every time we upload a video. There on turn 3 from Jeremiah is the namesake card of the deck. It is Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Back at me, getting in there with that Zoyoa. So Jeremiah's deck, it's a Jund mid-range deck. There's lots and lots of creatures, maybe 38 or so. A lot of them have activated abilities, as you can see from his points there. This is a natural order deck, so the natural order targets aren't what you think. So there's like a Gruff Triplets and a Tyranids Rex at the top of the curve. You see here is a Glissa Sunseeker. I got to give that one a read. There's just a whole lot of really subtle synergy in Jeremiah's deck, and the Soul Cauldron really kind of brings everything together. The most insane things that I've heard of Jeremiah doing with the Soul Cauldron are like turning all of his creatures into Grist, which is absurd. But it's also just a really good incidental piece of graveyard hate. It's a 2-mana, tap it to exile a card from a graveyard. With all the Storm decks and Reanimator style strategies and stuff running around the metagame right now, it's good to just have ways to interact with the graveyard. And right here you see Jeremiah's got 2, and part of the advantage of playing this Mardu Initiative deck is it's basically immune to this graveyard hate. But that's where the Soul Cauldron comes in and shines, because it's not just graveyard hate, it is a value engine. Zoyoa getting in the red zone again. What is this card that Jeremiah just played? It is, I cannot remember. Following that up with a Recurring Nightmare. Actually, I believe that is it a Biophagous? Maybe a Biophagous. I'm not sure. Biophagous is a 2-mana 1/3 that taps, and when you use the mana on a creature, it enters with a +1/+1 counter. Just like a mana dork. I think that's what that is. Not 100% sure. Me. I've got more removal. It's a Path to Exile for the Glissa. Glissa goes away. Jeremiah is going to get a land. You can see here, it's turn, I believe it's my turn 4 now. Still stuck on 2 lands. Deck not being very kind to me. Jeremiah is going to pick up that basic land. See if we'll see Zoyoa get in the red zone here. Here is a Solitude for the Biophagous. You might be asking yourself, well, why the heck would you give up so much value just to kill a mana dork? Honestly, it's because I want to trigger the Zoyoa. Was it a good play? Probably not. Hindsight's 20/20 though. Zoyoa in the red zone. Jeremiah down to 12. In step, Zoyoa is going to trigger. Jeremiah chooses to take 3 life. He's down to 12. Here is another land from Jeremiah. Having the opposite problem as me, I believe just 2 cards in hand now. One of them is a Pernicious Deed. 1 card left in hand. Pernicious Deed. It'll take care of my Zoyoa. It's also going to get rid of that Cauldron. Zoyoa in the red zone. Jeremiah down to 10. Did I find the third land yet? Missed my land drop 4 turns in a row now. Cauldron gonna eat another card. Pass back to Jeremiah. Still no land for me. I've got a lot of cards in hand. If I do start drawing those lands, I'll have some things to do with them. But until then, I'm stuck. I believe I have like 4 3-drops in hand or something. There's a Fable of Mirror Breaker. There's a Lauren of the Third Path. You see a Chrome Mox there. I had a lot of really, really good cards in hand and nothing that I actually wanted to put under that Chrome Mox. And after he played the Pernicious Deed, I didn't want to commit another card to the board and let him 2-for-1 me. Well, I guess it would be an even exchange because any activation would probably kill the Soul Cauldron as well. But I didn't want to give him that extra value because in that case, he would get not only the card that I played, but he would also get the Chrome Mox that I had to use to cast it. So here's a Green Sun Zenith. X equals 3, or is it 2? I can't remember. Looks like an X equals 3. And it's going to be a Grist, the Hunger Tide. Pernicious Deed, unfortunately for me, does not kill Planeswalker. So if this Pernicious Deed does get activated, the Grist will get to stick around. See Jeremiah leaving up 2 mana here. Will there be a third land off of the top for this turn as Grist gets activated? Gonna make an insect and mill a card. Looks like a Gilded Goose is gonna go to the graveyard. Jeremiah passes back with that 1 card in hand. Still's a draw step from me. So at this point, I feel like I'm very, very far behind, missing a land drop this many turns in a row. I believe I did draw something here that I'm willing to put underneath this Chrome Mox, knowing that I am going to basically lose all of my resources, other than the cards in my hand, to this Pernicious Deed. But I want to force him to pop that here. So another unfortunate thing is all of the cards in my hand are 3-drops. So I want to find a place where I can get him to activate this Pernicious Deed to get it out of the way and then start deploying some of this stuff. Hoping at some point that I start drawing lands off of the top. So a Samwise the Stout-Hearted is going to go underneath this Chrome Mox. And Jeremiah is thinking about whether or not he wants to activate this Pernicious Deed. I believe the imprint trigger was actually on the stack. Here is a White Plume Adventurer. So the White Plume Adventurer will find me my 3rd land. And also Jeremiah only has 2 mana up. So he can't actually crack the Pernicious Deed for 3 at the end of my turn. So we'll have to go to his turn. And he will either have to do it at sorcery speed or pass back to me. So I'm assuming that I will get to keep the initiative for at least 1 more turn. So Zoyoa is going to get in the red zone. That's going to elicit a block from the insect token. A Biophagus is going to get exiled underneath the Cauldron. And that is going to make the insect token trade with the Zoyoa. Pass back to Jeremiah here. Let's see what he's got. So Grist is going to get ticked up. That's going to make an insect token. Jeremiah literally just peeled a card off of the top of my deck instead of his own for the mill from the Grist there. So I have to reshuffle my library real quick. And we'll see what Jay's got for me. I believe Jay told me at the beginning of this turn, like, this turn is going to take me a minute, so please just bear with me. He lined up a really, really sick line here, actually. Some powerful magic about to be on display. Here is a Toxic Deluge for 3. That's going to take care of the insect token as well as my White Plume Adventurer. And the follow-up for that is nothing. He just passes over to me, so I am going to scry 2 with my initiative trigger. Pernicious Deed is still around, and he has the ability to activate it for 3. So once again, I really just kind of hate my life right now with only 3 drops in hand. And the deed out there, I'm really trying to avoiding losing as much of my board as possible. So trying to find the best 3 drop to play to get him to finally crack that Pernicious Deed. I do have a Lauren of the Third Path in hand that I've been holding on to. You know, and if I really wish that I would have been able to draw a land sooner so I could have deployed that Lauren of the Third Path. I believe it was in my opening 7-card hand, and it could have taken care of that Agatha Soul Cauldron. So here you do see the Lauren of the Third Path, and we'll see if that is enough to elicit an activation of the Pernicious Deed. Looks like the Soul Cauldron is just going to go away. And I did finally draw another land. Pass back to Jeremiah here, still with 2 cards in hand. I believe I also have 2 cards in hand. I know that I have a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and I'm pretty sure the other one is a 3-drop as well. Chris gets activated. That mills Fable of the Mirror Breaker for Jeremiah. Going to go ahead and draw a card for the Nurturing Peatland. The other card in my hand is Archon of Emeria. That's what it is. So I'm holding a Fable of the Mirror Breaker and an Archon of Emeria. Jay is just going to pass back to me. So apparently the Lauren of the Third Path was not enough for him to want to activate the Pernicious Deed. So going to go ahead and commit another one of these 3 drops to the board. It is a Broadside Bombardiers, yet another 3-drop off of the top of my deck. This it's a hasty menace creature, so I figured it was enough to get him to finally activate the Pernicious Deed, which he does. So all 3 of those cards are going to go away. The insect token is also going to go away. The best part of this is I still get to keep the initiative. So in spite of being so far behind this whole game, I feel like, or having really being in a tight spot the whole game, incredibly difficult to navigate this game was. I finally feel like maybe I'm making a little bit of headway. Here's a Fable of the Mirror Breaker after that. So Assassin's Trophy is going to take care of the Fable. That'll get me a basic land. I do still have a Goblin Shaman token on the way. Both players are Hellbit now, I believe. Maybe I did not have an Archon of Emeria in my hand. That could have been another game. Tarmogoyf gets milled to the grist. Another insect token coming into play. Let's see what Jeremiah's top deck was. So many powerful cards in this mid-range deck. Any one of them off the top, like especially one of these tutors, pointed cards, something like that. Renin 6. Who could ask for a better top deck? That'll allow him to keep picking up that Nurturing Peatland that's in the graveyard. And he's going to get to draw an extra card from that every turn. So Renin 6, super powerful card. Gaia's Cradle getting tapped for just 1 mana there. Here is that Recurring Nightmare that we already knew about. That's going to get exchanged for the Tarmogoyf. And once again, I feel like I am just in a tight spot. I've used up all of my resources. Pernicious Deed, 3 for 1 in me, basically. The insect token that it killed on Jeremiah's side hardly counts. Tarmogoyf is a 6/7. I need to draw something good. Thankfully, due to the initiative, I do get to draw an extra card this turn. So 2 fresh cards off the top. Let's see what we've got. 6 mana available. Gonna draw an extra card with the Sunbaked Canyon. Here is 2 mana. It is a Souls of the Lost, and I chose to discard this Orcish Bowmaster, and I really think that this was probably a flub. The other card in my hand is Archon of Emeria. I knew I had it at some point in this game, which I obviously cannot cast. So my thought process was that the Souls of the Lost is either going to die to this Grist or block this Tarmogoyf really, really well. It is an 8/8 Souls of the Lost. And so next turn I would be able to commit the Archon to the board. And once again, Jeremiah would have to find another creature to sacrifice to the Grist to destroy it, or it would be able to take the initiative back again, were he able to take it away from me. So I thought having that flying creature in play would be a little bit better, but what I hadn't considered was that Jeremiah is actively picking up this Nurturing Peatland and drawing an extra card every turn. Not only that, but I actually have the mana to cast the Orcish Bowmaster. So I really think keeping the Orcish Bowmasters and discarding the Archon would be a much, much better line. You see here, this is actually the turn that I was thinking about before. So Jeremiah lined up a really, really sick line with this Recurring Nightmare this turn, and was really able to just firmly take hold of this game and put me so far behind. There's really no string of draws that I could have that would let me recover. So this was the turn where he said, okay, hold on, this turn is going to take me a minute. So he's going to count out the mana here. He does have quite a bit at his disposal, especially with that Gaia's Cradle. If he starts committing more creatures to the board, he's going to have a huge amount of mana to spend. So Souls of the Lost, that's the card that I have on the side. It's sort of like a Tarmogoyf. It counts the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. Well, this Mardu Initiative deck, it's got something like only 12 or 16 cards that are not permanents. So I think at one point in time, this creature was over 20 power. It's always very, very big, very, very scary. It gets much larger than a Tarmogoyf could ever imagine. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Here is an Animate Dead from Jay. That is going to target the Broadside Bombardiers that's in my graveyard. So Broadside Bombardiers is on Jay's side now. He's going to tap that Cradle for 2 mana, 3 mana. Here's 4 mana, 5 mana. It is a Corvold Fey Cursed King. This is the boss monster of Jay's deck. And as you can see from what is about to happen to me, it gets out of control very, very quickly. Part of that is enabled by my Broadside Bombardiers with the ability to fling things wherever he pleases. So Broadside Bombardiers is a 2/2 haste menace, and it has raid, sacrifice a permanent, non-land permanent, I believe, and then you can deal damage equal to 2+ the sacrifice creatures or cards mana value to any target. So Grist gets activated there, sacrificing the Tarmogoyf, which does trigger the Corvold, drawing another card. That will destroy the Souls of the Lost. Broadside Bombardiers is now going to get in the red zone, and with Menace, I am unable to block it. So this is where that Orcish Bowmasters would have come in very, very handy, because not only is he drawing extra cards from the Corvold, so I could be pinging things, but also it would have created 2 bodies, so I would have been able to block this Broadside Bombardiers. So Jay has the initiative now, heading back to me. My lonely Goblin Shaman token not going to be able to attack into this Corvold Fey Cursed King unassisted, and right now I am kicking myself in the head for discarding that Orcish Bowmasters. Here is a Gideon ally of Zendikar. Gideon is going to make a 2/2 ally token. And because I've been struggling with mana so much this game, I am forced to just pass back to Jeremiah. He's going to put 2+1/+1 counters on the Broadside Bombardiers with the initiative and draw a card. So now I'm bound to be facing down this giant Corvold, this giant Menace Broadside Bombardiers. Grist's going to get activated here. That'll mill a card and make a token. Broadside Bombardiers is super good with tokens because you can just fling these relatively unimportant insect tokens and shock things. So this is a Chaos Defiler coming into play here. That's going to take care of Gideon. And Renin 6 going to get activated, putting that Nurturing Peatland back into hand. Jeremiah is going to play that one, sacrifice it, and it'll get to draw 2 cards because of the Corvold. Sacrificing a permanent, putting a +1/+1 counter on it. And all the creatures are getting in the red zone. Broadside Bombardiers gonna sacrifice the token to take care of my Goblin Shaman, and now I have no ability to block. So gonna take Chaos Defiler, gonna kill the ally token on the way out. That's gonna trigger Corvold again. So taking 7/11 here, down to 5 life. Sorry, 4 life. Still have that Archon of Emeria in hand that I've never found a spot to play, and that is going to do it for game number 1. Really curious how that would have played out if maybe I would have held on to that Orcish Bowmasters, but you know, you live and you learn. I knew it when I discarded it. I was struggling with which card I should pitch to that Souls of the Lost. But honestly, that Grist, you know, not dying to the Pernicious Deed and just kind of holding on and getting Jeremiah so much incremental value over the course of that game was, you know, you can't deny it. The Grist, you know, killed a creature, and it made so many tokens that did things over the course of the game. Corvold also with the ability to just draw a billion cards, be a huge flying threat. This Jund Cauldron deck has got some very, very powerful cards in it, some very, very sweet lines, and Jeremiah's probably played, like, I don't know, something like 100 games with it, so got it really finely tuned and running like a well-oiled machine. I just want to comment on how nicely my sleeves pair with Jeremiah's sleeves. This is a beautiful color pairing. You got that burnt orange, I think it's called tangerine color, with the plum color. God, they go so nicely together. It's like an NFL team's color pairing. Alrighty. Both of us are keeping 7 here. I'm going to start things off with a Marsh Flats. Let's see what Jeremiah's got. It's a Bloodstained Mire. Both players going to crack fetch lands. I am going to cycle an Eagles of the North. These creatures have been very, very good. So first of all, they let you keep some really speculative hands, you know. And if you're playing black and you've got things like Reanimate and Animate Dead in your deck, they're very live in the graveyard. Not only that, but I can't tell you how many games I've won just by casting one of these 6-drops, Oliphant, or the Trolls of Khazad-dûm. I've won several games just by casting the 6-drop. I haven't actually cast the Eagles of the North yet, but it'll happen eventually. Here's 2 mana. It is a dashed Ragavan. That is not what Jay wants to see with his singular tapped Triome. That's going to exile a Takenuma off of the top. I'll get a treasure token. And will there be a follow-up to the Ragavan? Nope. Just going to go back to hand and pass back the turn. Ragavan dashed is like if Rampant Growth had shock stapled onto it. Here is the Questing Druid. Jeremiah tempting me to dash the Ragavan again. Questing Druid, one of these sort of Quirion Dryad style effects where whenever you play a spell that's not green, it gets a +1/+1 counter. Chain Lightning got to take care of the Questing Druid. Here's that dashed Ragavan again. That's going to exile a Gilded Goose off of the top of the library. I got another treasure token. Do I want a goose? I do. Unfortunately, no third land once again. Mana troubles for the Mardu deck. Here's a food token on Jeremiah's turn. He's got 3 mana. Fetch land, gonna get sacrificed. Got a Badlands here from Jeremiah. Let's see what the follow-up is. Looks to be a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So Goblin Shaman token come. Look at that. Beautiful Magic Dad's Goblin Shaman. Will I find land number 3 off the top? There's 1 mana. Prismatic Ending. Got to take care of that Goblin Shaman token. Here's 2 mana. Got to dash this Ragavan once more. Looks like a Mox Emerald on top. Beautiful. That's basically a land, right? Do I have a 2 mana follow-up? Doesn't look like it. Gonna pass back to Jay here. Ragavan has really done the Lord's work. Between the 2 fetch lands and the 3 Ragavans, Jeremiah is already down to 12. Looks like Fable of the Mirror Breaker is going to bin a Troll of Khazad-dûm and a Korvold Fey Curse King. Jeremiah going to draw a couple of fresh cards off of the top. Play that 4th land. Here is the Oath of Nissa. Jeremiah going to get a look at the top 3 cards, put a permanent into his hand. It's going to be a forest. And the follow-up is going to be 2 mana for an Animate Dead. That's going to target, I believe it targeted the troll. In response, though, I've got a Get Lost for the Animate Dead. So Animate Dead is going to get destroyed. Jeremiah is going to get a couple of map tokens. And let's see if there is a 1 mana follow-up. There is not. Back on my turn. Did I draw land number 3? We've got this Ragavan we could dash. Something like a White Plume Adventurer in this spot to be able to go find that 3rd land and play it, followed up just by casting the Ragavan or something like that would be pretty sick. It is a Graveyard Trespasser, so that's going to get rid of Korvold. Jeremiah will lose 1, I'll gain 1. Yeah, so I defoiled my deck before this tournament. That was me attacking with the Gilded Goose. I said, I'm sending you a message, and he said, message received. Fable the Mirror Breaker, going to go up to chapter 3. It'll transform into Reflection of Kiki Jiki. Let's see what the follow-up is. Yeah, got to make sure that he knows where I'm at mentally. Attacking him with his own creature that doesn't actually deal him any damage. Send that message. Here's 2 mana. It is a Witherbloom command. So that's going to destroy the Mox and get a land back out of Jay's graveyard for him. Stranding me on 2 lands once again. Mana screwed 2 games in a row, but it happens when you're playing these mid-range decks without blue in them. Sometimes you just draw the wrong half of your deck. Here is a Mox Jet from Jay. Follow that up with a fetch land. That's going to get cracked immediately. Jay down to 10. That finds a Dryad Arbor, and at this point I am absolutely terrified of Natural Order. Of course, Jay doesn't have the mana to spend to play a Natural Order right now, but still. 3 mana. There is that Recurring Nightmare again. That's going to bring the Troll back into play. The Troll is 6/5 with Mega Menace. It can only be blocked by 3 or more creatures. I'm going to untap and take a draw step here. Did I find land number 3? There's lands in my deck. I promise there are. Here it is. It's Bloodstained Mire. Plenty of juicy targets in the graveyard for this Graveyard Trespasser. Unfortunately, it does not attack very well into that troll. And I just have to pass the turn back to Jay. Finally getting out the day-night token because it is night now. And cracking this fetch land. I believe we are in Jay's upkeep here. I have some sort of spell that I wanted to play, but it's an instant, and I would rather, make it night if possible. So pausing in Jay's upkeep so I can use this spell, and it is a Culligan's Command that's going to shock the Reflection and shatter the Mox Jet. In response, Jeremiah is going to copy the Troll of Khazad-dûm. So now 2 6/5s with Mega Menace. Here is a Forest, the one that he found off of the Oath of Nissa. Treasure token gonna get, map token gonna get activated. That reveals a Trumpeting Carnosaur on the top. Carnosaur is gonna hit the bin. Both of these trolls getting in the red zone, can't block either one of them, so gotta take 13. Follow up, 3 mana. It's that Recurring Nightmare. Gonna sacrifice that copy. That's gonna get the Carnosaur back out of the graveyard. Crazy powerful magic. That'll put a Stalactite Stalker into play. Crazy powerful magic. The Stalactite Stalker is going to pick up a +1/+1 counter from the Descend trigger, and I need something, and I need it now. Carnosaur is huge, Troll is huge, Stalactite Stalker is going to get bigger every turn, and all of these creatures are impossible to block. 2 of them have Menace, 1 of them has Trample. See, in my hand I have a Seasoned Pyromancer, the Ragavan that everybody knows about. There's an Urborg, but that's it. With just 6 life and no way to clean up all of these creatures, I have seen enough. Jeremiah is going to take this one down 2-0, and that puts Jeremiah in the cash. Jeremiah cashed this tournament, came in 3rd place. So congratulations to Jeremiah. Well played throughout the entire league. And like I said, tune in to the Old Cranky Man channel tomorrow. We're going to have an interview with the winner of the Maple Cup. But until then, make sure you get off my lawn. Bye-bye.